Offices using the Fortis Merchant Service can access the Fortis website from the patient payment access points in ChiroTouch in order to view, save, and reuse credit card information on file, as well as to perform other tasks. The payment window can be found on the checkout window, as well as here on the patient ledger. Clicking in here, to save a card, you'll begin as you would with any payment. You'll enter the amount to be collected, select credit card, and then choose Fortis from the merchant account dropdown. When the Post button is clicked to save the transaction, the Fortis website will automatically launch. You'll be shown the contact page for the individual that you're working with, and if there are no cards saved for this patient, you will see the Charge New Card screen by default. You'll need to complete the information relating to the credit card number and expiration, and if you wish, you can add a verbal description or tags to assist with your processing and reporting later. To post the transaction without saving the card, you just move to the Process Transaction button. If you do wish to save this card for future use, you can do so by ticking the Save Card box under the billing information on the right. Once you've selected that, you will need to create a title for the card. Once you've completed that information, then click the Process Transaction button. You'll be shown the current transaction detail, which you can email to your patient, void the transaction, print a copy of the information, and of course, simply close it. Once a card has been saved, the processing screen here will look a bit different by default, as you'll be offered to use the existing card on file automatically. If we close the site now and move to a different patient account in ChiroTouch, we'll go to Bud, who does have a card saved on file. We'll move to his ledger and again move to the payment window. We'll enter the transaction amount and select Fortis as our merchant service. And when we click the post payment button in this case, you'll notice that the credit card information and expiration information isn't appearing here. That's because we do have a card on file, and this of course significantly speeds up your process. If you have more than one card on file, you'll be able to select which card you're going to be charging from the Stored CC account dropdown. If the patient prefers not to use a card on file, wants to use a new one, you can switch back to the Charge New Card screen by working with the payment method dropdown. If I select Charge New Card, it will take me back to the screen that we were working with initially. While you're on this contact page for the Fortis site, you can navigate through to other areas of the patient account to view transactions, saved accounts, and access or establish recurring charges. And you can, of course, navigate to other areas of the Fortis site by using the navigation menu on the left. And there are times, of course, that you may want some of this information without having to process a payment transaction. You can access the Fortis site that way, close this, and move into the patient's ledger once more. If you move to the Tools button on the right, and select Fortis, you'll get a pop-up window that has two options, Sync All Payments and Launch Fortis. Clicking Sync All Payments will import all payments for any patients that have had transactions processed since you've last synced. Clicking the Launch Fortis button will launch the Fortis website without having any transactions in play. From here, you can navigate through this patient's account, or again, move to the left-hand menu and navigate to your dashboard, your reporting, contact list, and any other settings that you wish to address. This means you can perform multiple functions in multiple accounts once you have launched the Fortis site. And of course, since there are no transactions actively being processed to get here, it means that you can access this window from any patient ledger.
So here we're going to show you how to add credit cards and bank accounts on file, and also how to run one-time payments. So let's say a patient comes in and you just want to swipe the card one time, you don't want to add it on file, you just want to run a transaction just like you would on a credit card terminal. So all you have to do is click the Charge Card button. We've got it in two locations, right here as well as right here. So you can just go ahead and click that button. You can enter a transaction amount, enter or swipe the credit card number. If you have the little $15 USB swiper, which is highly recommended, you can just swipe the card and it's going to populate the card number and expiration date, but I'm going to go ahead and key enter it in here. The CVV is not required, so you don't need that. You can go ahead and put a description. A description would be just what this was for. It will show up on the receipt, so this is optional though for you. So we can just put exam in here. And then we have tags. Tags are used for reporting purposes on the Fortis end. So if you wanted to report on something over and over again, or let's say you have multiple doctors in the office or things like that, you want to tag where the transaction, which doctor it belongs to. You can do those sorts of things with it. We allow you to create as many tags as you want, and you just click the tag and you can use it over and over again. You'll notice on the right-hand side, we have the billing information. So we've got the name, address, zip code, and email address already in here. We're pulling this over from the patient profile. If you are using an integrated partner, we're automatically going to pull that information over. Now, address and zip code are not required, but they are useful, and they're useful to have them right. Really, where they're used is chargeback purposes. So if a patient says, I didn't authorize that transaction, having their address and zip code correct, that's tied to the card on file, or that's tied to the card that you're using, is important, but it isn't a required step. So just take note of that. So here we go. We've swiped or key entered in the credit card information. We've got the amount here, and we can go ahead and process this one transaction, and it won't store the account on file. Now, let's say many of you ask, hey, how do I run a transaction and store the card at the same time? So if you wanted to store this card that you're running, you can just click the Save Card button right here. It pops up a box where you can enter in a title or a short description for this card. So let's say we want to make this the primary card. We can go ahead and enter that. We can process the transaction. It's going to give us a nice receipt screen here. It's also going to store the card on file since we checked the stored card box. Now you'll see here it's got our receipt. You can print the receipt. You can also email the receipt. If you click the email button, the email that is on file is going to pop down. You can also change this email. So you can change it right here if you want to change it. And with one click, you can send the emailed receipt right to the patient. Now, if you're using our signature pad, you can have the patient sign right on the signature pad, and we will actually store the signature right in the system here. So if you have the signature pad, you'd see the little box pop up right here on the receipt. You'd click it, and then the signature pad would become active. They sign, and it'll store the signature right in the receipt here. So we'll go back to the patient's main dashboard, since now we'll have that credit card on file. So you can see here we've got that card on file. Now let's say you want to add a card, but you don't want to run a one-time transaction like we just did. The other way that you can add a card on file is just clicking the Add Accounts. Now from here you can select credit card or ACH. So the credit card is exactly what we just did. You just enter in or swipe the credit card. And then click the Save Account button. Again, the description will be used as a, just a descriptor for that card, so you can very quickly identify the card. If you're adding an ACH on file, we'll go ahead and click ACH. Again, you can add a title, a short description for it. Select the account type, checking or savings. You can select if it's a personal or business card. In this instance, it's usually always going to be personal. Account holder name, and then enter the account routing number and accounting number. As you start to enter the routing number, you'll see it's actually going to pre-populate here for you with the list of bank routing numbers. So you can go ahead and just select that one, and then you would go in here and enter the account number and save that. Once you have that account saved, it's actually going to come all under the stored account box. So you could have multiple accounts, credit card or bank accounts stored on file for a patient. We don't limit the number of accounts you have stored on file, so you can add as many accounts as you want. We often do this because patients want products card. They might want one card that's used for their reoccurring, one that's used for maybe their copays, things like that. So we allow you to add as many accounts on file. We want to make it as easy for you to take payments from a patient as possible. Once you have an account stored, running a transaction is super simple. You just come in here and click the Run Sale button. Again, from here, all you're doing is entering a transaction amount. You can put a description or a tag if you would like. Go ahead and process that transaction. And again, the receipt's going to pop up. You can email, print the receipt right from here, have them sign it. When you're looking for transactions in the system, we've made it really easy to find transactions for a patient. Since everything's built off the patient profile, you can see right here, we've got the 5 most recent transactions for this patient listed right here. If you want to see more than the 5, you can just click the View All button right here. You can also just click the Transactions tab. It's going to take you to the same place, so we'll go ahead and click the View All button. And now we can see all the transactions for this patient. So we do have it listed here, the number of transactions it's going to show per page. So we can widen that to 100 transactions. If there were 100, you would see all of those. But you can now see all the transactions. And what's nice about this is it's almost like a report just for this patient. So you can very quickly see, I want to see who ran this transaction, or I want to see, was it a sale or a refund, or I want to see, was this run from a stored account, yes or no. So very quickly you can filter and find transactions for a patient. We already have it filtered for you based on this patient, and now you can filter even further very, very quickly. So within, a minute, you can find that exact transaction that you're looking for. If you want more detail on the transaction, you can just click on the transaction date and it's going to pull the receipt back up for you. You can see here it's got, the logo and address and company information. This will have all of your company information there. It's got all the standard receipt information. If the receipt was signed by the patient through the e-signature pad, you would see the stored signature right here. And again, you can email receipts. Just click the email button. It'll pull the stored email for the patient over, but again, you could always change this email right here and email it over to them. You can also print the receipt. You can print the receipt right on your regular printer. You can also print it on a USB receipt printer. Those USB receipt printers can be purchased on Amazon. Just send us an email or a quick phone call and we can tell you which ones that we feel are the best ones and are compatible with the system. You can also run voids and returns right from the system. So let's clarify real quickly the difference between voids and returns. Voids are same-day transactions. So this is a transaction where the money hasn't settled at the end of the day and hasn't been deposited into your bank account. Refunds are next day, meaning the money's already been deposited into your bank account. So let's say you ran a transaction and you didn't mean to run that transaction. You can easily come and void that transaction. So you can just come in here and click the void button. It's going to pre-populate the amount for you. You can put in descriptions or tags, and you can go ahead and void that transaction. Now, if we want to run a refund, we'll go ahead and click a transaction that is not from today. You'll see the refund transactions button. Now, something to note is the system is intuitive. So the button you see there is what's available to do. So a void will only appear when a void is able to be run. A refund, that button will appear when only a refund can be run. I just wanted to make sure you guys understand the difference and distinction between the two. So we'll go ahead and run a refund here. You'll notice it's going to pre-populate the original transaction amount. If this was a partial refund, you could change this amount and run a partial refund, or you can leave it as the original amount. So we'll go ahead and just run this refund. And again, the receipt's going to pop up. You can print it, email it, all those sorts of things. There are other ways that you can run refunds in the system. Let's say you haven't run a transaction for this card or account on file and you want to run a refund. You can come in here and just click the Actions button and click Run Refund. From here, you can enter any amount. You can enter any description and tags as well and just process the transaction. There is one other way to do it. If you don't have a stored account and you don't have a transaction that you've run, you want to run it on a new card, just click the Charge Contact button. From here, you can change the transaction type from sale to refund, and you can enter the amount and then key enter or swipe the credit card and process the transaction. So all those different ways are ways that you can run refunds from the system. Again, you can run the voids right from the receipt, and then you can go under the transactions and recent transactions to see all the transactions for that patient. To add a reoccurring, we're just going to go ahead and click the Add Reoccurring button. It's going to take us right into the reoccurring screen. We can put a description in here, so let's call this maybe a 3-month care plan. You can select from the stored accounts on file. We only have one currently, but if you had more than one, you would see those multiple cards drop down. You can enter a description amount, a transaction amount, excuse me. So we'll make this, let's say $500. You can add a tag. So again, tags are reportable, so you can run reports on those tags. Notification days. This would be if you want to notify the patient X number of days prior to the reoccurring transaction running. So if patient said, hey, could you remind me 5 days before, you could put a 5, you could put a 5 in here, and it would send an email to the patient 5 days before the reoccurring went out. If you leave it at 0, it won't notify them at all. You'll see we have two payment types, one time and repeating. One time would be if you want to set a payment for some date in the future. This is just, I want to, take it out of my mind, set it for a one-time payment in the future, and then you can forget about it because it'll automatically run. You can do that, or you can do the repeating. Repeating, we'll go ahead and set the start date. So let's say we want it to run on the 1st of every month. We'll just select the 1st. Again, if you want the 5th, the 15th, the 20th, whenever you want it to run, you can select that date. Process every, typically you're going to do every 1 month because typically you want this running monthly. If you do want it running weekly or a certain number of days, you could select weekly. So let's say you want it running every other Friday. You would just select the start date of Friday and then have it process every 2 weeks, and then it would run every other Friday. In instances where offices have said, hey, I want it to run on the exact day of the 1st and the 15th every month, my recommendation is to set up 2 reoccurrings, one on the 1st, one on the 15th. The system allows you to have as many reoccurrings set up for a patient as you want, so you can go in and set up those multiple reoccurrings, and you can just let them run. Another question that we'll get often is, hey, I want the first 3 payments to be at this price, and then the next 3 payments to be at this price. Again, my recommendation would be set up 2 reoccurrings, one at $1 amount, the next at the other dollar amount that you want to run, and you can set the dates up front. So you could set one for the next 3 months and then one for the 3 months after that with different amounts, and those will pick up and run automatically. So once you set those up, there's nothing you need to do there. So again, in this instance, we're going to do a 3-month care plan. It's going to start on the 1st. We're going to process every 1 month. You can set it with no end date. So these would be your wellness plans where a patient's, it's just kind of their lifetime care. So you can set it up with no end date, or you can restrict it. So since this is 3 months, we're going to have it stop after 3 months. We put a total amount due in here. Just kind of validate this with your care plan sheet. Just make sure it matches up. Then we'll go ahead and save this reoccurring. When we save it, it's going to come up with a nice receipt screen here for you. So it's going to have all the info you need, transaction amount, the last 4, the number of occurrences, the total amount that you're going to collect, and all the payment dates. And we've got some basic verbiage in here for you. We recommend of everything that you have the patient sign this receipt. One-time receipts, they're really only used for chargeback purposes, that signature. But in this instances, when you're running care plans, a huge revenue for you is those care plans. So let's just make sure we're having these signed, and you can print these right off and have them signed, and we can also change the verbiage in here for you if that's something that you need. So we'll go ahead and close this. And you can see here now you've got that reoccurring added. If you wanted to add an ongoing reoccurring plan, we can show you that as well. It's really the same thing. So we can just call this lifetime care. Select from a stored account, enter a transaction amount. We'll have it repeating. We'll have it start on the 20th of the month, process every 1 month with no end date. And again, we'll go ahead and save this. And you'll see here it'll come up with a very similar receipt, except it'll just tell you under the payment schedule that it is an ongoing payment schedule. And that's how you set up reoccurrings in the Fortis system. So if we want to view or edit reoccurrings, there's a few different ways we can do that. First, you've got your 5 most recent reoccurrings right here. You have your actions buttons right out to the right of any of those reoccurrings. You can view or edit or delete any of these reoccurrings right from here. There's also a reoccurrings tab for this patient. So we can see all of John Smith's reoccurrings right here. Again, it's got the ones that have ended in red very quickly for you to see, and then all your active ones in green here. So from this screen, you've just got a little bit more info. You can see the reoccurring info, the original payment schedule, completed transactions. But you can also get in here and view it at further detail. So if you come in here and let's say you want to click the view button on this reoccurring, it's going to give you all this information like the number of payments that are completed. So you can see here 3 out of 4 payments completed. We've collected $1,500 and we have a $500 outstanding balance. So if you are a true cash office and you're using reoccurrings as the balance, you can very quickly with one click, just the view button, you can see the outstanding balance for this patient. You can also print this off at any time that you would like. The other thing you can do is you can edit the reoccurrings, and we'll go back just to the dashboard so you can see me do it from there as well. So you can come in here and edit the reoccurrings, and there's a few different edits that you can do, and we're going to go over those now. There's kind of 2 reoccurrings that we're going to go over. We're going to go over ones that have an end date. So these would be, your 3-4 month care plans, or ongoing ones for your lifetime patients. So this will be ones with an end date. We're going to go ahead and click the edit button. A few things you can edit in here. Very quickly, if you wanted to change the card tied to the reoccurring. So let's say the reoccurring transaction declined and you get, the patient comes in and hands you a new card and you want to change that. You add that card on file. All you have to do is from the drop down here, change the card on file, save it. It will save this new card on file for that reoccurring, and you don't have to do any other edits to the reoccurring. So it's really quickly to change the account on file for the reoccurring. The other thing you can change is your tags, your descriptions, your notification days. You can also change the next run date. So next run date means that's the next time the payment is set to be run. So this payment is set to run on the 1st of every month. Let's say the patient comes in and says, hey, I know my payment's due on the 1st, but I get paid on the 9th. Is there any way you could move this month's payment to the 9th that would really help me out? You can change this payment to the 9th, save it. This one payment will run on the 9th. All the future payments will still run on the 1st as expected. So just a very quick, easy way to change this month's payment date for a patient. There's a few other things you can do in here. You can see we have skip and defer a payment. We have a little description in here, but I'll just explain it to you. So skip a payment will actually skip that payment. We are assuming that you are collecting that payment in some other form or fashion. So this would be the instance that the patient walks in and wants to maybe pay with cash for this month's payment. Or for some reason you need to skip this payment because they paid with another card or things like that. You can very easily just come in, skip the payment, and it will skip that one payment. The other option you have is defer a payment. Deferring a payment is skipping a payment, but adding it on to the end. So this is the instance where patient comes in and says, I can't make this month's payment. I want to continue under care. Could we just push off my monthly payments 1 month? I know I still have 4 payments left, but could we just skip this month and add an extra month to the end? That's what the defer a payment button will do. Now, what's great with both of these is you can change the number here. So it's not like you just have to skip 1 payment. You could skip 2 or 3 payments. It's whatever you like. Now, the other thing you need to remember is this is based on what we call the interval, or how often you are processing this. So if you are processing this every 2 weeks, let's say, it will skip a 2-week payment. So it would skip that every other week payment. If it is processing monthly, then it would skip 1 month's payment. If it's daily or whatever interval you have it set up, that's what it's going to skip. So in most instances, you guys are set up at monthly. It will skip that 1 month's payment, or it will defer that 1 month's payment. Next, we're going to show you for ongoing reoccurring plans. So these are your lifetime wellness patients where you set up a reoccurring and it runs in perpetuity. So we'll go ahead and just edit this reoccurring. You come in here, again, same things you can edit. So you can come in here and change the amount for ongoing reoccurring. So you can come in here and change this amount if for some reason, maybe it's a family care, lifetime care plan, and one of the kids is going away to college and you have to change the amount. You can also change the descriptions, the stored accounts. You can set an end date so if for some reason this ongoing plan needs to have a set end date, you can set the end date. You can also change the next run date, just like we showed you in the last reoccurring. The things you can do in here is you can place this payment on hold and skip this payment. So place on hold is really easy. You're just going to click the place on hold button. When you are ready to take it off hold, this reoccurring will still be sitting here. You click the resume button and it'll pick back up where it left off. The other thing that you can do is skip a payment. Now, where this is useful for your lifetime is maybe for your snowbird type scenario, where someone's going away, or maybe someone's going to Europe for a month, or someone is going back up north for the summer or something like that. And you need to skip 3 months payments for them, or 3 payments. You can come in here and change this to 3. It'll skip those payments and automatically start back up where it left off. So this is really nice for your, snowbird type scenario, or long vacation, or any of these different scenarios where maybe someone's leaving for a set period of time, but you want the reoccurring to start back up automatically. You don't want to have to set a reminder or remember when to go back in there and do it. You can have the system do that for you automatically. So we really make editing the reoccurring really simple, really easy, and really convenient for you to do the things that you need to do so that you can have the system collect your payments automatically, and you don't have to set reminders or cancel reoccurrings and create whole new ones. It's all built to make your office run more efficiently and more smoothly. A lot of offices ask us, how do we handle reoccurring declines? And there's actually a few different ways you can do that. So first, we need to identify those. One of the easiest ways is every night we're going to send you a nightly email. It's going to look something like this. It's going to have 4 sections for you: approved, declined, voided, and returned transactions. Within here, you'll see that there is a reoccurring column. So very quickly, you can come to the decline section, check the reoccurring column, and see if there's any reoccurrings that declined. It will also show you how many payments are left in that reoccurring list, just so you can kind of keep track of those, or maybe ones that have ended. You can very quickly see that from the nightly email. The other way you can check it is right from the report section. So if you click reports and just go credit card transactions right here, it's going to bring us within here. We can select the time frame that we want. So we can select, like, let's say this week, or we could even say last week, or this month, let's say. So we can go ahead and select this month, and then under transaction status, we just select declined, and it's going to give us those reoccurring declines. So that's a second easy way that you can find that. So once you have them identified, now you go, okay, what do I do with that? Well, there's 2 really different things that you can do. One, well, I shouldn't say 2. There's a few different things that you can do. 2 different things that you can really do within our system. One, you can just come to the card on file and run a sale for that amount that was declined. So you can try it the next day. Often we'll see, a certain percentage, maybe 20-30% of the transactions will go through the next day. Declines are due to insufficient funds in the person's bank account. So often we'll see, maybe a check gets deposited, and then all of a sudden there's money in that account, and you can run the transaction just manually the next day. The other way is we actually have a whole automated system that will try and collect this for you. So we are automatically going to send an email directly to the patient. It's going to tell them, hey, the following payment processed by Carolina Chiropractic has been declined. Please click here to make this payment online. It's going to take them to a secure screen where they can enter in their credit card information, submit the payment. We'll actually post it right under the recent transactions. We'll even post it back to the patient management system that we're integrated with, if you're using an integrated patient management system. The other thing you can do, or that you'll see here, is that it says there's a little checkbox that says use this card for future reoccurring payments. If the patient checks that box, we will actually add that card on file and automatically update their reoccurring plan for you. The whole point of this is we're trying to automatically collect these payments and reduce the amount of time that you're having to go chase patients for payments. We also know it's an awkward conversation that neither you nor the patient really wants to have. So if you kind of just notify your patients of this, of, hey, if the payment ever gets declined, just, you'll be getting an email notification, and they can just pay right online. When a patient does pay online, we're actually going to send an email back to you at the office notifying you that the patient paid online. So it's very quickly you can see, oh, okay, this patient went ahead and paid online. I can cross them off my list, or however it is that you keep track of those reoccurring declines for that patient. Within Fortis, we've got a couple reports that you can run. We know the data is yours, and you need to be able to search for it and filter on it and find the exact pieces that you need, and we want to make that happen quickly. So there's a few different reports that you can run. First, within the patient's profile, it's very easy. You can just either click on View All Transactions or click the Transactions tab, and it's going to bring up all the transactions for this patient. Again, you can just start filtering by days or any of the fields up here, and it will just start filtering on those for you. If you want to look at transactions at the office level, we're going to click the Reports button, and we'll go to the transaction report first. This is going to pull transaction level detail. By default, when you come in here, it's going to have all of today's transactions. You can just select the transaction date dropdown and filter on any of these. If you want a custom date range, so you want to look at a certain specific date range, you can come in here and customize that as well. You can filter by any of these drop downs on the top. So, most of these are self-explanatory, like status, approved, declined, reoccurring, yes, no. Account vault is whether the card was stored or not. So this would be a stored card that you would be running it from. So the instance is, was it a stored account or was it a swiped account? And so that's really the difference there. The next report that we have is the transaction summary report. So this is going to give you a daily summary. You can look at this report by date or by batch, and you can quickly see what the total sales were, what the total refunds were, and what the voids were. So just at a quick daily glance, you can view all this information. And again, by any of the top filters, you can start filtering, and you can, as always, export all this data right into Excel. Transaction summary, credit card by type. This just gives you a breakdown of Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and Discover in case you need that. And again, by batch or date. There's an ACH summary report as well, so you can look at that. And there is an expiring account. So this one is used mostly for if you want to be proactive in looking at the cards that are coming up expiring that are tied to a reoccurring. So I can go reoccurring, yes, and I want cards that are expiring in 3 months. And this will give me all the cards that are tied to a reoccurring that are expiring in 3 months. So very quickly you can be proactive about making sure you're catching cards that are expiring. The last report that we have is a reoccurrings report. In this report, you can pull up any and all reoccurrings, no matter when it was, if it was deleted or canceled or ended. So it's very easy. You can come in here and just start looking by start date, end date, next run date. You can search by contact and all that kind of information. So those are all your reports that you need. Again, as always, just click the reports button and select any of the reports. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Here we're going to go over some of the office manager setup, kind of the back-end office stuff, how to add a user, do the things that the office manager might need to do. So to get to that information, we're going to go ahead and click on locations. When you click on locations, you should see your office name. Go ahead and click on that. From here, the one thing you might need to do is change your logo. So right here, you can click choose file, and you can actually upload your logo right here, and that logo will appear on the receipts. Next thing you can do is go ahead and click on the settings button over here on the right hand side. You've got a few different things right here. Really the two things that you're going to use are users and tags. We'll go over tags first because it's nice and easy. These are the tags that you see in the drop downs. You can add your own tags right here. You can delete them, edit them, all sorts of stuff. So come in here, you click add tag. It's really simple. You can just say I don't know what we want to call this, but let's just say example tag. And you can save that tag, and now that tag will appear when you run transactions. So it's that easy to add tags. And again, deleting tags, super simple. Just click the delete button, and that tag is now gone. So very easy to set up and remove tags. The next thing we'll go over is the user section. Now, this is very important to know how to set up the users, and you really got to pay attention to this because if you don't set it up right, the user, their privileges may not be set up right. So you can see all your existing users right here. If we want to add a user, we can just click Add User, and we'll go ahead and put their username. So we can say, let's say, test user. and then you can put their first name, John Smith, and then let's add their email, Cairo@fortispayments.com. So that's all we need. Oh, sorry, and we got to select the time zone. So we'll go ahead and just put Los Angeles. So once you've entered in the basic information, username, first name, last name, email, and time zone, go ahead and click Save User. Let me change that test user account. I think that user might be taken. There we go. I had added a user that was already existing. That's why. Okay, so now we will go in, and from here, there's a few things you need to do when you're setting up this user. So first, you need to go set their roles. Their roles dictate what they can and cannot do within the system. So we allow you to dictate everything what the user can and cannot do. First and most important one is client admin. This allows them into this back end part of the system. My recommendation, office managers and doctor only allowed back here. So it's up to you who you let back here, but that's just kind of my recommendation because they can add and delete users and things like that. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. So like card vault add is adding a card on file, deleting a card on file, editing a card on file, pretty self-explanatory. Reporting, sales, voids, things like that. Reoccurring add, delete, edit, all those sorts of things are pretty self-explanatory. Reporting as well. So you can come in here and select exactly what the user can and cannot do. So if you only want them doing certain things, you can set that. So make sure you set these once you add the user, because some people kind of add the user and forget to set these and then don't know why it's not working. We'll go to preferences next. The preferences are really what emails they're getting. So we have a few different emails that you can receive. So email all credit card or ACH transactions. We can actually have an email receipt sent to a specific user every time a transaction is run. This sometimes will happen with accountants. Accountants want to have that emailed and they do something with it. I'm not sure what, but we made it available. ACH return notice, kind of the way ACH works, if no news is good news. So it takes 3 days for ACH transactions to settle, but after 3 days, you pretty much should know if it settled or not. If it didn't, make sure you check the ACH return notice. That will make sure that you get an email notification if an ACH transaction did not go through. Nightly ACH and credit card email. This will send you an email, the nightly email that you probably saw earlier. It looks like this. It's going to give you a breakdown of your day's transactions. So whoever you want receiving that email, make sure that is checked. And then declined reoccurring payment received. This would be when a patient pays, we send an email out because their reoccurring payment got declined. When they pay via that method, we send an email notification back to you, notifying you that that payment was made. So that's what that is right there. That's most of your back end stuff. Most of the other stuff you guys don't need to know about. So just make sure when you set up users, you set up all their roles and preferences up properly. Again, as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask us. One of the things with Fortis is we want to make sure that you can always get a hold of us. Our customer support, we kind of tout it as the best in the industry, and we really feel that it is. And we want to make sure that you can always get a hold of us. So I just wanted to leave a few phone numbers and emails up here so you know how to get in touch with someone the fastest. Usually the biggest question/issue, I would call it, is a technical support, or you don't know how to do something, you're having trouble locating how to do something. One of the easiest ways to do that is right from within the system. You will see down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little button that says Chat with the Tech Desk. If you click this, you can start typing your questions, and our tech guys are sitting right there, and they can answer it right away. With this system, we can even see your screen. So you can share your screen with the tech person, and they can be typing with you and seeing the issue and kind of point to where to go. So it makes it really, really easy. So if you have a quick question, you need help right then there, just click that tech desk button and you will start chatting with someone within a couple minutes and they'll be able to help you with your question. Outside of that, if you have other technical questions, you can always email helpdesk@fortispayments.com. That's helpdesk@fortispayments.com. You can also call 855-465-9999. So those are for all your technical questions. For processing questions, these would be like, hey, where did my deposit go? Or I have a question about my deposit, or I have a statement question, or I have just a pure processing question. Again, you can call the 855-465-9999 number, and they'll direct you to your rep on the processing side, as well as you can always email support directly at support@fortispayments.com. So those are kind of the two breakups, technical and support. It's all within the same Fortis team, but there's easier, quicker, different email addresses to get to them directly if you just want to reach them directly via email or through the little chat box within Fortis. If you need an escalated issue, so if you are having trouble, you feel like you aren't getting the answer you need/want, or if you have after hours questions. So support is 9 to 5 Eastern. So if you have an after hours support question, you can always email Cairo@fortispayments.com. Again, that's Cairo@fortispayments.com. So if you really feel like you need to escalate an issue, or you feel like your voice isn't being heard, which we don't see that very often, but if that does happen, feel free to email us there. That email comes to me as well as a few other people. It's going to get answered very quickly. But sometimes, we are seminar shows, so it's not always the best email. Support is your best option from 9 to 5. So again, technical support, you know how to get to them, processing, and you know how to escalate your issues or after hours questions. If you have any enhancement requests, anything like that, please feel free to reach out. We love hearing from you guys.